All right, everybody, we are at 6:30, so just to be respectful of everybody's time, I want to go ahead and get started. Thank you to everybody who has joined us today. Welcome to Speak on It. This is and will be the last one of our kind of different way of, being wanting to provide ourselves and allow for questions to be asked. And so as you guys know, we've been doing this a little bit differently for the past month for obvious reasons. We wanted to open up this forum to give people the chance to ask questions because there's a lot going on. And so starting next week, we will be reverting back to the original stewards call, which will start again at 7. So it will be every Tuesday from 7 to 8 p.m. And it will be only for stewards. It will be limited to stewards again, and we won't be live streaming on Facebook anymore. So it will go back to its regular Speak on It format, just to kind of let you know what's coming up. Wanted to start out in our typical our typical format actually, and give some announcements. I guess I'm sorry, I should say. So hi, I'm Anika, your Vice President for Representation and Organizing. Bill or David, you want to go next real quick?
Hi, everybody. David. Thank you. David Jimenez here, Vice President, Secretary, Treasurer.
Bill Hong, Chair of the Board, recent change.
Awesome. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with announcements. So first announcement is an update on Telework, and we don't have an update right now, unfortunately. So nothing new. We don't have a date yet, but I know that Miss Irene is working hard on making sure that we get back to that Telework table, and so we should be getting back to the table soon. In terms of the Telework stipend, that too, we haven't gotten any news for you because obviously that conversation would happen at the Telework table. So we have not met again with the state. No changes, no differences, but we are looking forward to a meeting coming up soon. We also wanted to announce about the healthcare stipend. So the healthcare stipend of the $260 for all will be ending on June 30th of 2022. Therefore, if you previously had Flex Elect, that $260 will be going away for you, not for the people who hold the insurance under the state, obviously, right? So if you are the primary insurance holder, you will continue to receive the $260. If you were previously a Flex Elect member, you would need to re-enroll now. If you haven't done it already, please do so soon, because that $260 for the prior Flex Elect people will be stopping as of June 30th. I also wanted to announce to all of those individuals who participate in the second cohort of Fast Track, which started January of 2022. Obviously, they're towards the end of that Fast Track, actually right after it ended, right after we graduated, kind of everything kicked off that we're dealing with now. And so the distribution of all of the tchotchkes in terms of your certificate of completion, your laps polo, and some of the other stuff that we have for you guys, those have not been processed yet because staff is barely getting back into the buildings and kind of getting past some of this, right? And so once we kind of all acclimate back into the offices, we will be able to get out those packets. Now, I will kind of flag for everybody that we are looking to do it a little bit differently. And what it will do is actually have us engage with our DLC presidents. So the thought is that those packets, those graduation fast track packets, will likely be sent to the DLC presidents, and then it will be up to the DLC president it'll be a way for you to engage with your new steward and for the steward to get to know your DLC president. If there's, some kind of hiccup there, then obviously we can have a conversation and make sure that you're getting your stuff, right? So I just wanted to flag that for my fast trackers, and for those presidents, know that this is coming. It's been brought up that there needs to be a little bit more interaction between fast trackers and DLCs, or new incoming members and DLCs. And I think this is a great idea that actually a couple people mentioned to me while we were working together on this organizing institute down in LA. So I kind of already announced the next one, which is the steward's call. Let me say it again. The steward's call will go back to normal starting next Tuesday. So next Tuesday, we will actually revert back to the normal steward call, starting from 7, ending at 8 o'clock, only for stewards, not live streamed. I also wanted to flag that we will likely be having another call in lieu of the prior Wednesday night call that will likely look a little bit different, and yet again be another opportunity for members to ask leaders in the organization questions. So more on that. That is scheduled to start next week though, so you should be getting some kind of notification, some information on how that's going to look moving forward. We do have a little bit of, I would call it exciting news in terms of the essential worker premium pay. For those of you who are represented by Senator Campbell out of District 15, which is like the Eastern Alameda, San Jose-ish area, he sent us a letter saying that he has heard from 600 of our members, and he will definitely participate and encourage in the Senate process, that he will advocate for our workers to get the essential premium worker pay. And so he was, kind of just saying, I'm in it. I'm gonna, be an advocate for you guys. Tell your members that, I'm gonna do that. Thank you very much. And he did confirm receiving a lot of emails. So those of you who were sending emails to your senators, I would say keep it going. And some of them listen, right? Senator Campbell is listening, so that's fantastic news. I also, before we get started, just wanted to let everybody know that Miss Irene Green is not joining us today. She has a prior engagement, which is actually pretty awesome. She's doing some advocating around, some very important topics to her, and so I think that's an awesome thing to participate in. Definitely getting your word out there and participating in different kinds of events when you could push different. I think it's related to suicide awareness and pushing different bills to protect people who have suffered from that. And so very good cause, and I hope that tonight goes well for her. So we will be here for you guys while she's doing other great work, which is pretty awesome. So having made all of those announcements, I hope I didn't forget anything. We will go ahead, open it up, and start taking questions. Yeah, let's do that. All right, Mr. Frank, how are you today? Go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
I'm sorry, before you speak, Frank, we just want to make sure everybody is aware that there's going to be a 2-minute time frame for any question, comments, or statements. So we'll give you a 15-second reminder, and then when we call time in 2 minutes, you'll be muted. If you have additional questions, comments, or statements you need to make, we ask that you please go back into the queue. Thank you for respecting everybody's time tonight.
Thank you, Michelle. I still haven't gotten used to that part of it. I thank you very much for making that announcement. Mr. Frank Askin, go ahead if you want to unmute and ask your question.
Good evening, Miss Annika. Thank you for recognizing me. Point of information for the chair. We got an email yesterday regarding the DLCs, and for some unknown reason, the Los Angeles region is not on the map, is not listed on the map, and we need to have the Los Angeles region on there because, as you know, LA is home to the world champion Los Angeles Rams, and we are going to run it back next year with OJ, with this new year with the Rams. So we need LA back in there. And then also, with regards to our DLC presidents that have been out on the membership drive, how can we get a copy of their POP that they've been using? How can we request a copy of their POP? Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Hey, Frank, thanks for your questions. The POP can come either through Union Lead, Annika, or David, and I would be pretty much assured that they will get that out to you. I'm not aware of the email you're talking about or why Los Angeles was left out of it. I don't see that Los Angeles should have been left out of it. So If there was some error, we'll get that fixed.
So yeah, I also don't know what email you're talking about. So if you're talking about the membership drive in LA, the Organizing Institute, there was one pop that was actually put forward for that everybody worked on. If that's what you're talking about, that is easy peasy. We could get it to you. If you're talking about the individual DLC presidents, not all of them are off on union leave, but we could dig a little bit deeper if you're looking, for specifics or something of that nature. But yeah, everybody who's out on union leave has a plan in place. So
I just wanted to add as well to that, yeah, I think I was a little confused, right? But if he's referring to the Organizing Institute in LA, then there's no individual pop for the individuals on that team because there was a application process. And the pop there was a pop, but that was done by staff regarding the entire program. So the whole program, there's that pop. But as far as the members that are on it, no individual pops because there was an application process.
And I will say that, and I think I've mentioned this on a couple of calls. I think that this Organizing Institute was awesome for those of you who are in the LA area. If you have extra time after you've done your volunteering for us and you still want to do some more volunteering, connect with the LA Fed, the LA County Federation of Labor. They do some really awesome work. And, we were meeting our members at their houses. We were doing phone banking. We were doing work site visits. We did some awesome fairs. So there's we did learn, even for myself, right? I've done home visits on other things, but not for a membership drive. So there are other ways to reach our members, especially during this telework time. So just, highlight that because we could always add that in our own personal DLC plans moving forward to reach members who are primarily teleworking. And there is a safe way to do it, right? So for those DLC presidents who want to dig a little bit deeper in that area, please just contact me and let me know. Like we could definitely replicate something similar to what we were doing down here in LA, but in your area and make it work for, membership. So just throwing that out there. Mr. John Fox, good to see you on here again. Go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. I just want to applaud some of the communication I've been seeing. Bill Hall in particular, I like the last message you sent. That's the kind of specificity I was talking about. So I just want to encourage you to continue to communicate, but don't sit on your laurels. You still, in my view, need to do a lot more, but I think you're headed in the right direction. So I just want to applaud your efforts. And more specifically, Annika, what you just shared with us earlier, even though there's no movement on those various issues, I think that's the kind of thing, even though it may be a little dull, just one liner, let people know, hey, we're still thinking about it, we're still working on it, we're trying to schedule just do something. Don't let anything slide. But anyway, I want to applaud your efforts. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. It looks like Mr. David Patoli is next. Go ahead, unmute and ask your question. How you doing?
Hi, good evening. So I have a few questions. It was mentioned during the UAW contract negotiations that outside legal counsel was used. Are we allowed, or are we going to do the same thing when our bargaining comes up next year or late this year, whenever that is? How many PACs does SEIU have? Is there any way to find that out? In Unit 9, I know they have an incentive for signing up new members and also a flat rate. Are we allowed to do that or look into that? And if this call is going to end, who do we ask our questions to? And last thing is there anyone in charge of the SEIU website that we can make recommendations and make it a little bit easier to find things and to post things for members and find information? That'd be great. And I think that's all I have.
I'm a pro-life woman.
I can jump in on some of that. So,
Go ahead and take some and I'll take the others. I was
website-
writing them down.
Of some type.
All right. To answer your website question, that was actually a conversation in a meeting at about 3 o'clock today. So that is something that everybody's pretty concerned about. We all know it's not user friendly. And then I would encourage you for your questions to reach out and email any of your statewide officers or myself. You can do that through the MRC with an ask a question or make a statement or fill out a web form if you want, if that's easier for you. And we will get your questions answered, I'm sure. Annika, why don't you go ahead?
Sure. So in terms of the UAW contracts and in using outside legal counsel, I think that's probably a better question for Miss Irene, and I think probably something that we would discuss as an executive group in terms of bringing in outside counsel. Obviously, when it's needed, we do. And have in the past. So I don't see it as not being an option, but it hasn't been something that we've spoken about directly for bargaining yet. Although bargaining conversations are definitely, starting up like yesterday. I'm being facetious, but they should have started a while ago and we're getting them started now. So that's good. In terms of PACs, David, do you know exactly how many we have? Because I know there's at least 3, but is there how many more?
Yeah, it's 3 as far as I know of.
Okay.
The issues, candidates, and independent expenditures.
Okay, so that's the answer to your PACs. There's 3. And then in terms of Unit 9, benefits to signing up members, actually it's something that we had kind of started talking about, and not necessarily, I don't know what their incentives are, because there were different things that are, that when we were discussing it that we had thought about, whether that be some special kind of swag or, whether that be like a gift card to somewhere, to, groceries or something of that nature. There's been a couple of thoughts that have been kind of thrown out there, and we were kind of working on like a membership committee, all of which kind of took a little bit of a halt, and we are working on getting some of those great ideas up and moving again. So I think it's definitely some, a conversation that we will continue to have, but not something that we've talked about in the last 2 months, given everything that's happened. So I would put that as also a possibility. Thank you for the suggestions. I feel like there was one more question that I'm missing though.
I don't remember, but I wanted to add just a little bit more, because I know in the budget committee, we discussed, there was just some early preliminary discussions as far as trying to incentivize members or stewards to sign up other members. And if that were, something like as swag or maybe a gift card, or like an actual like money or gift card or something like that. But, we always get tripped up. Well, I remember it was kind of like, yeah, but you kind of have to have like a time frame or where the person signs up and they stay signed up for a certain amount of time, because you know how people start all of a sudden figuring out little tricks or whatever, or to kind of game the system. Yeah, work the system. Yeah. So we did have some early level discussions on that, but we definitely, I think it's a great idea to incentivize other members and stewards to bring in, to sign up their coworkers and all that. So we definitely need to have that conversation again, bring that back.
Thank you. Fantastic. All right, let's move on. Mr. Brian Burns. Hi, Brian. Nice to have you on the call. Go ahead, unmute and ask your question. Oh, I remember the other guys. Before you go, Brian, if these calls are continuing, he said, where can we go or whatnot, right? And so I alluded at the beginning that we will have another call starting up next week on Wednesday that will give an opportunity for people to ask questions in a more open format, kind of like this call, but with a little bit different of guidance. But the steward call on Tuesday will be specifically for stewards, and you are always welcomed to send questions that you guys have to Ask Anika, ASKANICA at SEIU1000.org. Okay, now Brian, go ahead. Sorry about that. Oh, and hold on, let me make sure you can unmute. Are you there? Can you unmute? I'm showing that you're still muted. Mr. Brian Burns, last call. I'm going to move on. No? Okay. I see Miss Eileen Boughton next. Hi, Eileen. How are you doing today? Go ahead, unmute and ask your question, and hopefully, oh, there we go.
Okay, there we go. Hi, I'm okay. Thank you. Thank you for taking my call. Going back to Frank's for the POP and everything, but you also indicated there was an application process. When was the application, and was that ever advertised on the SEIU website for people? Because that would have been fun to do. And also, you also stated that, you know, bargaining is going to be happening now. Does that mean that the chairs of the bunk, they're having meetings, and are they having meetings with, I know my bunks, especially Unit 4, has not even been to a bunk meeting because he's never been asked to attend. No notices going out for that. Again, I request that all bunk meetings be posted on the calendar for we could see that, because if my bunks can't make it, I would be more than happy to go on there. And also, thank you for bringing back the EDD conference calls. It was good to have that back, but the problem with that, they let people know for EDD that the limited term people only had until March 18th to sign up to become PIs, but they didn't give a notice out on your website to anybody about this. So maybe a lot of people may have missed out on getting a PI position from a limited term. So if people do know about things that are happening, I think it should be given earlier notice where people can have a chance to become a full-time person or become a PI or something. So that's that. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that limitation either. That would have been good information to make sure that everybody that we represented had the opportunity and knew. And I'm glad to hear that the calls are starting up. That's fantastic. In terms of the application process, so I will say that that this Blitz was focused in LA, and so there were a group of there were like a larger group of like 40 names that were kind of identified as individuals who could potentially, you know, have there was like kind of a list of things, right? They needed to be able to participate in the entire Blitz, which was like 2 weeks long. We were trying to make sure that people were in the LA area because obviously that's the area that we were working. And so it was those individuals that were identified that had to kind of fill out the application to make sure that they were able to kind of do all of those specs. And like I had alluded to before, it is something that we would like to replicate and take throughout the state and work in different DLCs. Because the way that we were trained to engage is just a little bit different than our normal process here at Local 1000. And not to say that we haven't been taught some of these tactics. We absolutely have. But it's a matter of making sure that we're focusing on kind of those aspects versus, you know, kind of just numbers sometimes, right? So that was kind of that process, but we are, like I said, looking to replicate. And I think your idea of making sure that dates are on the calendar is very key. I think that's something that you heard Bill say that we've had a huge conversation about communications today, and you know, the calendar is obviously a part of that. So we will make sure that, you know, we kind of get that across as well, that we would like, you know, the calendar to be up to date as much as possible. But I will flag that also means that, and I know you would do a good job at it, but that also means that if we want it to be up to date statewide, we need to be notified of all the different cool stuff that you guys are doing statewide, right? So make sure that you're sending all of those calendar things to communications at SEIU1000.org so that they could post it. Okay, thank you, Eileen. I hope I answered all your questions. Let's see, Ciel Hightower, I hope I said your name right. Forgive me if I butchered it. Please unmute and ask your question.
Hi, yes, thank you very much for taking my call. Yeah, you did pronounce it correctly. Thank you. I am new to the union. It's my first almost year. And I don't know if this is an appropriate question, but I've had to reread and reread the MOU several times because of situations that I've gone through. And I noticed that in my class or my number or unit, that there are certain things, like for instance, what goes on with a counseling memo versus other units that in my unit that there's not a lot of description on what you're supposed to do or how you're supposed to do or what the management is allowed to do. But then in other units, it's very descriptive, and what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do is there. So, and I know that there was a memo that went out and said, if you want to add anything to the contract, just fill this out. But I don't think that kind of thing is allowed. So I was wondering, how could I, or how could that change?
So you're actually, thank you for getting on this call. I think that you're engaging at the perfect time because as you heard me say, we are, gearing up for bargaining that will start happening next year. So one of the ways, and actually you referenced writing something down and turning it in, right? That is allowed actually. We do a series of like surveys that will be, they'll start coming out, kind of asking things of that nature. What's important to you? How, what, all of those questions, right? We want to hear from the members. So surveys will go out. Another opportunity that normally comes next are the town halls. And the town halls tend to, they used to hit almost every major city and even some of the smaller ones, right? Where we had lots of members, where members were. And so, gosh, how many, Tony would be able to tell me the exact number because he had it like memorized. He hit all of them. But I mean, there were like 40, 50 plus different town halls that we did up and down the state, right? And that was to come to these different areas and hear from you guys in person. And then obviously before and after there were opportunities to talk to us as well. So that's another way. And then obviously you're connected to your bargaining chairs. And all of the things that you're noticing, Ciel, in the contract that are specific to certain numbers, you'll see, right, like unit 17, unit 20, and you'll even see that for unit 1s, 3s, 4. You'll see them for different units. And the reason that is when we're at bargaining, there are things that are bargained at the master table, which is the table that affects all 10 bargaining, well, all 9 bargaining units, because State Bar does do their own separate negotiating. But for all 9 bargaining units, that we'll do it together at the master table. Those specific things that have the number unit listed next to them specifically are things that the unit tables and the chairs have fought for at that table that is very specific to that unit. And so in some of those, like unit 17 and 20 that sometimes have similar issues, you did have different bargaining tables. And so some of those are different, right? You'll see some differences, some specifics, like you said, of things that, there are some kind of hard nose on or supposed to be hard nose on, right? And so what that means is that we just need to do better with our language or find better language that fits when we're back at the bargaining table. So I would definitely say to continue to engage as you have tonight. Thank you very much. And, like I said, this call may not continue this way, but calls will continue, and you should be able to reach out to your chair at all times. If you have any questions, feel free to, either use the request online for questions that we already have on our website, or you're always welcome to send a question to askanika@stiu1000.org. Okay.
You could also just the MRC, call the MRC, and
of course.
Because I'm trying to think of the email for Unit 1 chair. Is it Unit 1 at
I think it's just S. Rodriguez at SCIU1000.org for Susan. Yeah, if you're a Unit 1, Ciel. It sounded like maybe, I don't want to guess, but I was guessing it was like a 17 or a 20. Maybe not. Maybe you're right.
Yeah, call the MRC and they'll give you the right email.
You want to say the number? 1-800. 17348. Everybody say it again. No, I'm kidding.
It's one.
All right, guys.
It's 866.
866-471-7348. Right.
There you go. There you
go. There you go. All right. Mr. Austin Brown, if you want to go ahead, unmute and ask your question. Ooh, hopefully I did that correctly. Sorry. There you go.
Hi. Thanks for doing these. And I guess, first of all, I'm glad to hear that we'll also be doing that. Even though this won't be continuing, there will be the Wednesday meetings, because I think that having this live forum is really helpful for making just giving people a sense of their in real time reactions. I guess I specifically, I kind of wanted to follow up on what had been mentioned earlier about the website and communication issues in general, like relating to that. So like for me, for example, I'm in DLC 701 and there's a list of names and there's no emails. There's no way of contacting. There's a link that says, click this to get a list of the upcoming meetings. There's no, it's a dead link. There's no, so I guess what are the ways of, I guess the first question is, how would I get access to that information? Because I would like to be in more direct contact with the bargaining unit representatives and the DLC president about issues that are affecting my local council. Otherwise, I guess, is there, if that communication breakdown happens again or continues to happen, are there resources that we can take advantage of to maybe nudge the folks who
15
are
seconds.
that are leadership positions to, you know, have a little bit more responsiveness? That's it.
Yeah, great questions. And thanks again for calling in. So we hear you on the website communication issues. As Bill mentioned, we did have a conversation about that today. So we are working on trying to fix some of that stuff, trying to, you know, make it more user friendly and think about how we do that moving forward, what we put on there and all of that nature. So we hear you on that. Thank you. In terms of, so in 701, there was a little bit of turnover. Actually, you guys did get a newly elected president. And then unfortunately, he had some things, you know, he had to take a step back. And I believe Lisa Davis is your current DLC president right now. And so, and as I'm thinking about it, I know for sure there is a DBER 11. I'm not sure what is comprised, what the e-board down there, the rest of the e-board is comprised of. I'd have to double check. So I'm sorry that I don't have that information right now on hand. But, you know, there's kind of a myriad of ways that one can choose to either try and, you know, bring some life into the DLC and or depending on your ability and how involved you want to become, right? You can be that person that brings the life to the DLC. And I know that isn't necessarily the answer that you're looking for, but I do like to kind of just remind people that we are the union, right? And so I would say that the MRC number that we gave, the 866-471-7348, that's who you would find out who your rep is down there. And so you could connect and get information from your URC rep, which is your union representative. And so although they're also, they would also kind of play they do play the role of an organizer in some senses, right? And so different worksite issues that you can engage him or her, and you guys could get stuff going in your specific worksite or for your specific division. Some things that I know other people do is, you know, you're down there in 701, so it's San Diego. It's a little hard to kind of come out of, you know, San Diego is a little far down there sometimes for people. But if you find yourself in an area or have friends who are connected in other DLCs, you are also always, well, I would double check with the with the leadership there, but typically I don't think I've ever seen anybody get denied access to somebody else's DLC meeting, right? And so that's another way to stay connected or to get the information. But what I will say is that if you know, if you've tried reaching out and you've tried communicating and none of that is working, then I would invite you to be the change that you want to see in that DLC and maybe, you know, try and get some of that kind of good energy going, even if it starts small, right? Because when change happens, it usually happens slowly and it starts small. And so I think members tend to gravitate and kind of feel when people are doing stuff and wanting to do stuff and they see that in you, it might encourage them to do something. So I'll kind of just leave that there. David, I know you wanted to mention something.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to mention that feel free to I'll give my email out. Feel free to reach out to me. I am based in the southern region. I live down south, not in Sacramento. So it'd be easier for me to, and I know that you're not the only I'm not sure if Austin is a
Definitely not
steward
the only, yeah, there's lots of stewards. down
Is he
there
a
for
steward or
sure.
just a member? I forgot, but I know there's other stewards that have been reaching out about just having a regular meeting in their DLC, and I guess that hasn't happened yet. We'll have to. I mean, we could just reach out to me, and we could try to do something to start shaking that tree, as Annika said.
And in terms of the communication on the website, so there has been, we've tried to put as much of the communication information on the website as possible, but some of that information was asked to be taken down just because it, wasn't something that those individuals were comfortable sharing. And that, that to each their own, right? There are ways to get other numbers. And so we try to encourage that. If there was a dead link in terms of the meetings, again, that's something that I think, again, all DLCs kind of we all need to work on in terms of posting all the meetings that we're having in the DLC. So it might be that they're not having any, or it might be that they're not communicating that to communication so that it's posted on the website. Either way, it should be better. So we hear you. Thank you, Austin.
Oh yeah, and then calling the MRC, they should be able to give you either forward you to the voicemail if they don't answer directly to your DLC president, or give you a email or phone or a cell number, one or the other, where you could, as a member, get a hold of your DLC president or a steward or any one of your executive board members of the DLC or the rep. Yeah, so it goes for staff, the rep, and also the DLC leadership. A member should be able to request that information from the MRC. So yeah, I look forward to hearing from you, Austin.
Awesome.
So Austin, I'll make this simple. If you're not getting the help you need, email me, bhall@seiu1000.org, and I will step in and help you directly.
Awesome. There you go. All right. Mr. Mario Chacon, it's always good to see you. How you doing, Mario? Go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Okay. I got a question. Actually not a question, it's a request. Do you have a copy of the chain of command? Okay, that's number one. Number two, I know there's a lot of DLC board meetings going on. Who sets the agenda? And number two, can I get a copy of the agenda before the meeting? Thank you.
So you said DLC board meetings.
The board meetings that the emergency board meetings that are happening every Saturday.
Okay.
I like to have a copy. Okay. I like to have a copy of the agenda so I can talk to my DLC president what's going on. It's a two-way street.
Right. So okay. So those agendas for the board meetings obviously are sent to the board. And so it is up to the DLC president to share that out further. We could definitely have a discussion as to, once they're out, you could give me a call, Mario, and if your president's not sharing them with you, I'd be willing to share it with you. I don't think it's something that we're just going to blanket. I don't recommend us blanketly sending it out, but if you, request to see the agenda once it's out, I don't have a problem sharing it with you as, a member of the board and you being a member. So I that's definitely something that we could work out. Especially given, the communication and relationships that we've kind of established. So that's not a problem. And in terms of the chain of command, I know that organizationally, that's what I was just going to say. Organizationally, we've kind of been, the org chart has been a thing. I mean, literally like a thing, because up until this election, the org chart was kind of off. I mean, to be really honest with you, it kind of just had like the VPs just floating in thin air, and then it kind of had everybody else in the org chart. And so I know that they had worked on that right after this election. But David, do you remember seeing, like, I know I don't have it at the tip of my fingertips to share, but I think it's something that we could get to you, because I know I've seen a new one if you just, if you're curious about that new org chart. But I'd have to search it, Mario. It's been there's 7 months.
There's on the website, when you click on the hamburger on the right, top right, you click on that and go to about local 1000. So under there on the left hand, there's the BOD organizational chart and the staff organizational chart. So maybe that kind
That's
of
a good place to
answers.
start.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. Perfect. Awesome. All right, it looks like Ms. Denise Quinn Allen, you are next. Go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much. I have a couple of questions regarding BOD. I want to be honest. BOD was rough the last two times. I'm wondering if you guys have a plan before, when the new officers just came in, when all the new electeds were just brought in this last June. Was there any kind of like orientation or anything given? Because I don't recall having one as of yet. You know, I'm on my e-board, I'm a DBER, and I'm really interested in wondering if you guys are going to give training or anything like that, because I'm going to be honest, we're coming up in bargaining, and virtually every member that I've been talking to lately, they're embarrassed by the actions, the unprofessionalism by a lot of the people involved. And I want to really try to get people to fall back in love with our union. And especially when we come to bargaining, we're stronger together, bottom line. So I'm wondering if you guys have any plans to set clear protocols that people can't just shout out during the meetings, and they can't just, you know, we have a timekeeper, we have, you know, a chair, somebody that represents it. I'm wondering if you guys are going to develop some protocols or rules, or if you're going to have at least a training on what, you know, decorum is going to be expected to be followed. I mean, because the SEIU has been in the news, 1000 has been in the news, and you know, people's eyes are on us, and I want to be something that we're proud of. So I'm wondering if you guys have a plan to kind of get things together and make sure that
15
we have a
seconds.
protocol. Thank you.
So my answer to that would be yes. I think we have been trying. I think Bill has, since he's taken the board position, has, you know, tried to instill, as I think David did as well, that we should be respectful of one another. Thoughts,
We lost
opinions,
Shanika for a second.
inclusive of people's thoughts and opinions. Yeah, go ahead, jump on in.
So yeah, we'll be doing some board training to help people out. There are also some other tools that are available within Robert's Rules of Order that we can use. But at the end of the day, understand that discourse is appropriate as long as it's respectful and doesn't disrupt the process or prevent work. So discourse by itself is not a bad thing. When discourse is about not getting the work done or stopping work from being done, that's when the discourse becomes a problem. So, you know, the other thing to be understanding of is the board has not had regular meetings. Richard, basically, we had no regular meetings under Richard. So the board didn't meet. And with that said, we've got to get back in the swing of things. People have to learn, people have to express their frustrations, and we have to figure out if and how we're going to move together as a group forward. And that's critically important.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, I would agree with everything that he said. And then also, yes, you are right about bargaining. I know that's something that is very important to Miss Irene, something that she is working on getting started already, in terms of, you know, trying to plan that out with our staff that needs to do that, and with the director of contracts. And so yes, the DBERs will be trained. And to answer your first question, actually, the new board that was voted in, they did get their basic kind of training, right? I don't think the DBERs were invited to that first BOD meeting, but I know, like, the secretaries, the presidents, obviously, I know they, and the VPs, right? I'm pretty sure they were invited as well and got their binders. So just wanted to throw that out there. All right, it looks like Miss Eileen, you are next again. I'm going, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and take you. Go ahead, unmute and ask your question. You are next in line.
Thank you. I forgot to also say that I went on to my DLC 789 on SEIU, and there is like, oh, the buildings are gone of what I have in my DLC. There's only 6 buildings listed on there. And I did put a request for communications to see why, because I should have like 34 buildings up on there and there's only 6. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if something's going on behind the scenes. So if you could look at that, because that was, and I did also request a report that same day, and all my buildings came on the Snapchat or whatever that's called of
On the reports?
On the reports is fine, but on the websites, it's all my buildings are gone. So it's like, can you fix that?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for flagging, Eileen. I wrote it down.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. It looks like Mr. Blando. Hi, Manuel. How are you? Unmute and ask your question.
Oh, okay. First of all, everything that Mr. Austin Brown said, ditto to that. At the beginning of the meeting, David said something about the DLC presidents were being, there's going to be an effort for each and every one of those presidents to do some sort of reaching out, at least basic reaching out. I just want to confirm that's going to happen. I'm trying to ask my questions here, and then I'll let you go. And what else? Geez. As far as the situation with the President Brown, I'd like to know what the status of that is. You know, if we can go ahead and resolve that in a fair, in a quick manner, that's another thing that'll eliminate all the distractions with contract negotiations. Just want to, caution while this is happening that, for good or bad, a lot of the issues you brought up resonated with a lot of people. Just keep that in mind. But yeah, I like the way we're all moving forward. My main issue here is, again, we had a lot of people where I am that's looking for direction. I like the DLC presidents to at least give us an idea, anything, where they're thinking of heading. I'm just saying there's a small window here where people's interests, they're ready to do something, but again, you have a small window. So
15
that's
seconds.
it for right now. That's it for right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Manuel. So I think this is more tree shaking right now, right? In terms of kind of just making sure that we need to kind of, again, right, make sure that our DLC presidents are engaged and involved. So I think this right here highlights that 701 needs a little bit of love, some TLC, and so I'm highlighting it. Maybe it's something that I call down there, because obviously under my purview, like, let's try and build and make sure that we're having meetings and things of that nature. So I will definitely make sure to reach out. I'm hoping that you did get the notice in terms very specific to DDSD, but I'm hoping that will keep some people engaged until we could get down there. And maybe, David, we make it an effort to get down to that area sooner rather than later,
Right.
just to make sure that we're connecting to the members down there. So thank you, Manuel, for bringing that to our attention, as actually you have before. So we got to get down there once all of this is kind of settled a little bit. And we are getting there. You asked for a status of Brown. We do go to court on Friday for the temporary restraining order. And in terms of everything else going on, there is a due process. And so he is still going through that process. And so he is still currently suspended as president, but still remains the president.
Right. And I guess I'll just add that we just set the, I don't want to give the date out over the internet, but he has been noticed about an investigation date being set by the hearing officer, and that's been all filed timely. So no concerns about the timeline as far as what's outlined in our policy file. And
Thank you. Yep. All right. Looks like Mr. Craig Nelson is next. Hi, Craig. How you doing? Go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Thank you. Just pointing out there are two separate processes going on. One is the court process and the HR1 process. They are separate things. HR1s are internal disciplinary things, and the court is an external lawsuit. Just so
yes,
people
and just to
can know the
clarify a bit
difference.
further, there are multiple court cases. So yes.
Yes. I'm calling because membership is our key to everything. Membership to getting a great contract is what we need, and activating those members once they become members on this. And I'm hearing a lot from you, and I think David's been mentioning about the Labor Fed in Southern California's membership, organizing a membership program. My questions about that are, you've learned a lot. Is there any plan that you have set up to implement those things on a wide scale statewide? Has that plan been developed? When is it going to be finished if it hasn't been developed? What are we going to do to get more membership? And I want to know your specifics, Annika, of what you're doing, because you're organizing a representation that will be implementing this so that we can get this done, versus we're hearing the great things that went on when you were doing it, but what is your overall vision and plan to get this in place so that we can get the membership that we need to get the best contract we can get in 2023-4. That's it.
So the vision is grand, right? There's actually many ways that I have looked to and have engaged different, different directors and the executive team in terms of building that membership, right? And so one of them obviously is, how do we build membership utilizing the technology that we have, right? That's kind of a committee that we had gotten started and that I would like to continue. How do the MemTech committee, right? How do we bridge those two so that we utilize the technology in the best way that we can moving forward, which obviously would encompass things like our systems that we use, the apps that we use, how we use them, what we already have that exists. Obviously, there are also other specific, my vision is actually building from the ground up, which means that we have to have healthy DLCs in order to have a healthy membership overall, right? So it's not necessarily about the big pushes that we do, because those are important as well. But I think it's more important to be building from the inside, which is focusing on worksite issues, right? And so a piece of that, and I know it's taking a little time to kind of wrap the way we think about organizing around our heads. Typically, organizing was a very big scale, big issue type thing, and I think maybe then we talk about it differently, because realistically, organizing starts with simple conversations, right? And listening to people and what is important to them. And if we're making sure that our work sites and our worksite issues are addressed, those bigger organizing efforts are going to come out of and be directly related to some of the worksite issues. So, I know that that's been a little bit contentious in terms of getting used to the idea that we, right, us as individuals, as leaders in the union, or as member leaders in the union, it is actually up to us individually to work some of these plans and make sure that we're membering people up. And if that means having lots of conversations until we, kind of bring somebody in, then that's what we do, right? So there are some larger scale things, like the event that we did, the organizing institute that we did in LA, and doing things like that, pushing those out statewide, right? Helping and building DLCs that are low in membership, right? So there are ways to target certain areas that we know need the help specifically and more and soon, sooner than others. And then there's a way to make sure that we're also engaging our bigger work sites that do get engaged, right? How do we engage them differently? How do we keep them involved? And I think that a larger part of that build needs to be, how do we reach out to our younger represented employees? And so whether that means we create some workshops and get more training, training to me is a part of all of that. So I'm not going to give you anything more than that, because that gets really, really specific. I think I've given you some good large scale ideas, a sense for where it's going. But I think little by little, you're starting to see some of that happening already. And I would invite all of you guys to get involved in any way that you see possible. Go ahead.
Can I jump in for a minute?
Of course you can. Yeah, because I know you're going to mention the other piece of it.
I want to be as direct as I can with people. So all of your leadership is absolutely focused on membership. It is absolutely critical. The discussions were engaged last week, the week before, this week, today. There are things that we are doing as a group. So I'm going to give you just a few directs. We are working with the international. We have somebody from the international in California to help us as we sit here. With that said, we have an opportunity to get a call center program on membership going, and we can do that within the next 2 to 3 weeks, according to the international. It costs us nothing. It's a quick reach across low-hanging fruit, and we should take advantage of it. I think, and Annika and David and Irene are all in agreement that we're kind of foolish if we don't. So we're getting going as quick as we possibly can. Some things will happen faster, and some things are going to take a little longer. Things that need more planning are going to take a little longer. So this membership is being addressed on more than one level and at more than one speed as quickly as we possibly can. So everybody's in agreement. Everybody's got a piece of that work, and that work will be moving forward. So, you know, watch and listen for the results. And I think you'll start to see something within a month.
Thank you, Bill. All right, it looks like Miss Jessica Anderson is next. Go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Hi, Ed. This is my first time, so it may have been answered already, but I was just curious. You mentioned still negotiating for the telework. Are they doing that retroactively or not?
So far in the conversations, the state has indicated that they will not retro. They don't want to. We feel otherwise. Did you have another? I don't know if you got muted. I'm sorry. And I hope that you didn't get cut off with other questions. But that, now I don't. Now I can't find you. But yeah, so that's the answer to that right now. They did not want to retro. The last conversation we had, they were not looking to. So it would definitely be a part of the conversation to come next time we're at the table, and when we decide on something, that's when we'll know. David, did you have anything to add on that? No?
No, not you got it. I did want to just add on the last question about the call center. And I was confused, and well, at the end I was like, oh no, because I remember one of the items on the agenda, and I don't remember if it got handled or voted on or not, but remember the Bill, what were you, the program with having one steward out 1 day a week from each DLC and paired with a staff person to do organizing. That's just kind of another little another program aside, you know, to augment or help supplement member leader organizing.
Yeah, David. Yeah, David, I didn't bring that up because the board, we haven't had a discussion with the board, and because we haven't had a report out from accounting on what that would cost us, and we haven't looked at whether or not we can even afford to do that. So that's why I didn't bring that forward. I mean, bringing back the old Wednesday member off program, I think would be a lot of benefit. We can augment staff cheaper than hiring more staff.
Right.
But we have to see if we can, one, fund it, and two, if the board supports it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely some good information to provide for the board in the future, I guess, because it wasn't, it wasn't. But yeah, I mean, we have to crunch the numbers, but I don't see that being like something that breaks the bank. And it's, you know, it's focused on.
Well, more so, I think we gotta ramp up our staff before we start, right? Like we've changed the way they work. So,
but it's like it has two benefits, right? One, we're training our own people, so we're trying to developing leaders, and then two, we're gaining. You know, the purpose is to go out there and get new members, speak to your non-members at your work site, right? So, because it was an organizing thing, if I understood it correctly. So it's like, you know, two
engagement, building at the DLC level. Yep. Awesome. Thank you, David. All right. It looks like Mario, you are next again. Go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Yes, Mr. Hall, I asked a very direct question, please, respectfully. Who's in charge? Who brings the board of directors meetings to order? Number one. Number two, who sets the agenda? And no, I have not received any agenda from my DLC president ever. Not once. So please answer the question directly, please. Who's in charge?
Okay, Mario, I didn't realize that that question was meant for me. So when it comes to chairing and running the board meetings, it is myself. We understand and we've heard very clearly that people would like to see the agendas ahead of time. So we're going to work towards that. We're going to work towards the agendas going beyond just the board of directors so that people can be engaged. That's going to be a process. It's going to take us a little bit of time to get our hands on our feet, our feet on the ground rather, not our hands on our feet. And we just set at this last meeting the schedule for the board meetings for the rest of the year. By having that schedule, that allows us to plan and get information out to everybody earlier so that we're not operating on a emergency basis. I hope that answers your question. And, you know, we will work to bring, okay, so you're shaking your head no. You're back in the end of the line. We can have a further discussion.
You know, I'll just add, because he did at the end mention DLC. I think I heard him say about his DLC.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Ted, go ahead.
Oh, I don't know. Sorry.
Is it Ted?
No, it's David. Sorry, were you not done, Bill?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm done. I mean, Mario
Okay.
can get back in the queue and come around again.
Yeah. It's just because there was also the previous regarding the DLC meeting. So I just wanted to quickly refer everybody to the policy file section. DLCs is under 4.0.02 responsibilities of the DLCs. So I just so everybody, a steward or member can refer to the policy file, which is on our website, and look up section 4.0.02, and that's responsibilities of the DLCs. So just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, go
Thank you
ahead.
for that reference. Yeah, that's good. All right, Mr. Ted Bloom, and I already owe you an apology because I know we were supposed to talk. I don't think, if you called me, I don't have your number saved. I'm not sure what happened. And it was my bad for not calling you back since I didn't get a call from you, I don't think. So go ahead, unmute, ask me your question, and know that, you know, you don't have to ask that question if you don't want. We do have to have a phone call still. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ted Bloom. I'm the senior librarian and I'm a new steward over at the California State Prison at Los Angeles County. And the first thing I wanted to mention is that not everybody in Los Angeles loves the Rams, okay? I'm a 49er fan. I know other guys I work with that are 49er fans, okay? So let's just get that out of the way, all right? Thank you. Plus, I'm from New York. That makes it even worse. You know, I'm not even a native. But next, on February 17th, I was certified as a new steward through your program. Thank you very much. Yes. And unfortunately, the labor specialist and the warden has not received any kind of confirmation of this as of yet from the state. So I'm afraid to really participate as a steward until they give me the green light. In other words, my principal brought this to my attention, says, hey, dude, you can't do anything until they acknowledge this. Is there anything we can do about that, please?
Yes, so they for sure should have been notified. I know there was a little bit of a hiccup with the February reporting, but I know it happened in March. So if they're still saying that you have not been reported as a steward, I'm actually back in Sacramento tomorrow. So let's get this figured out by this week. By Thursday, you should get a call from me, Ted. And if not, we could do that. I could send out that email to your principal as discussed prior.
Thank you.
You are very welcome. Okay. Let's see, it looks like Mr. Tommy Cornelius. How are you doing? Long time no speak. Go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Hello, I have a couple questions. One, who's in charge of union leave? Also, what are you guys, because we've been looking so bad in a negative way with everyone, and people are dropping their membership because of the fighting that's been going on for several months. What are your plans for moving forward? Also, what are you guys, or what are the plans, or do you guys have any talking points to get members back into to sign up again?
So I would say to your last two questions, the answer to that it is kind of simple. It's getting to the work, doing the work, and showing that that's what we are focusing on, right? Which is building our membership, making sure that our members are engaged, and make sure that they're communicated to. So in terms of, that's what I would say is kind of our bread and butter right now. We need to focus on the work and not fuel the fires of all of the internal politicking that's going on. Get to the work in the DLCs and focus on that. And I think if we do that and focus our energies on that, then members will see what we're doing versus what we're sitting there at the water coolers talking about, and hopefully they too will engage. In terms of what was your, I lost the first part, guys. That was the last two. What was the first part?
Oh, the first part was union leave. Who's it?
Union leave. Jesus,
yeah.
How did I forget that? That was a conversation today too.
Yeah.
So the answer to that is David, right? In the policy file, he is the person. Technically it's the president, but because Richard is suspended, David acts, acts in that position, given that he's the secretary treasurer. Therefore, he is the person that is signing the union leave. But we are all notified of the union leave that is being approved, and we discuss it as an executive team.
Yeah. And I'll just take this opportunity to share my vision with that. I really think that union leave does not belong in the hands of one person, and it should be with the authority given to a committee, whether it be the executive committee or some other body. I just strongly feel, and I'll take this moment to express my personal feelings, that it's not something that one person, one position should have control over. It really does have to be by committee. And so I even though I'm acting president, that signature requires, or the signature to approve it is mine right now. I do consider the input from the other VPs, Bill Hall as well. And, so decisions regarding that do have their input as well right now.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. And good to hear from you, Tommy. I hope all is well. Miss Sharon, you too, man. I feel like we're getting all kinds of awesome people that we haven't talked to in a while. Sharon Godot, go ahead, unmute and ask your question. How are you today? I'm glad we finally got you on. Where'd she go? Uh-oh. Well, I hope she intentionally put her hand down, because I didn't do that.
Okay, thank you.
There she is. Okay, good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Craig asked the question about your vision for helping to grow membership. And then just a few minutes ago, another gentleman said, give us some talking points of what we can say to members to help turn the tide. And instead of giving me all that, press release, how about like 3 definitive talking points? Just 3. I don't want all of that other stuff, just 3 talking points. What your vision is, and how can we address those concerns for people who are dropping membership? 3 talking points.
So Sharon, thank you for that question. I don't think the answer is that simple, to be really honest with you, because depending on who you're talking to, you might have to pivot your talking points. Some people tend to talk about the internal politicking of what's going on, and that's what they want to focus on. If that's the case, then I have a very different conversation with somebody who was asking about representational problems and wanting to grow membership, right? So I think that we need to listen closely to what the person who is talking to us specifically is asking for, what their issues are. And then we need to figure out what is going to agitate that person to get involved and join in solving their issues, right? Because again, we want to make sure that it's not just up to Anika to build membership, because that's not going to grow the membership that we need for a good contract, right? Anika is a conduit to other people so that you can make connections, so that you can help grow membership as one of our strong member leaders in the Fresno area. So I realize that you guys want very specific answers and a very clear vision, but the vision is clear, right? We need to have conversations, we need to talk to people, and we need to make sure that they are truly engaged for the right reasons, so that when we have some internal issues like we do right now, people don't jump ship because of one person, right? Because the reality is that this labor movement was around a long time ago, right? Those are the benefits we're getting now, and it's going to be around, hopefully, fingers crossed, a long time moving forward if we continue to do that work. So I don't like to necessarily just say that it's what I want to do, because I am trying to be as open and listen to as many ideas as possible and put forth some of those great ideas. We have ideas in the technical realm. We have ideas in the DLC realm. We are using international. We are utilizing staff from other areas and from other affiliates, like we did with the Labor Fed. And so I think all of those, I apologize if you guys aren't hearing what you want to hear, but I think in that I am giving you guys some answers. So thank you for your question. I hope that, this hopefully I made it a little bit more clear that it's not just on me, it's up to everybody on this call.
Yeah. I'll add too that the talking, there is a wrap, they call it, or talking points, I guess, that was developed for specifically for the Organizing Institute, but it's very, and I could actually, I pulled it up right now, but what I wanted to focus or emphasize before I read that out is that the talking points or the wrap does not focus on what's the recent situation, I guess, that's happened within the local, right? We're out there trying to gain membership. And so we find that most of the time people actually want to talk about issues at their work site. Some of them are, so those are the majority of the conversations. And just to answer a little bit of your question about the wrap or the talking points, this is what was developed and what we used. But again, everybody's free to change it up as as you want in the situation. But it's pretty straightforward. It starts with, hello, my name is David Jimenez. I'm a state employee for 18 years, and I'm a member of the union of or member of SEIU Local 1000. Are you so-and-so? We're here today to check in with state employees and share information important about our union, SEIU Local 1000. How are you doing? And then there's we have a list of get to know them questions. How are things going for you at your work site or during the pandemic? And then our union represents 99,000 state employees. Collectively, we have won strong gains for our members. And so it's basically outlining, it goes from there, but it's and it is really fluid. Every individual, every individual can adjust it as they want with the member or the prospective member, I guess. So there is a something that for you to go by if you need that, but everybody is also allowed to kind of improvise.
And there's never an answer that, right? You want to ask open-ended questions to people. You don't want to kind of lead them to a certain point, right? I mean, I think that defeats the purpose of what is agitating them. I think more so if we learn how to organize and feel comfortable having those conversations, as we in Local 1000 call them, courageous conversations, if we get comfortable doing that and connecting with people in what matters to them and stop looking for the answer, right? We can't always fix people's problems, but we could lead them to a possible solution or solutions that they too need to participate in. So, all right, fantastic. Thank you, David. Appreciate that. Mr. Vincent, Vincent. Hi, Vincent. How are you doing? See, I hope I did it right this time. Go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not a question, but I'm going to push back a little bit, and it's just not for Annika and David. It's also to Bill and Irene too. What you've been hearing is boots on the ground. And what you've been hearing is that they are having issues when people are coming up to have those courageous conversations on how to answer on behalf of the union. We are stewards. Okay, there should be some FAQs that we can do about our current situation as far as what's happened to Richard. Okay, this is what's happened. This is what we've done as far as the board is concerned, blah, 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 blah. So when we have those questions, we know basically where to point to. Okay, David, I'm gonna push back a little bit and say your policy file is outdated because we are still being pushed to the point in our DLCs to do some organizing, and that's not in the policy file. So we have to decide exactly how we are going to message that. So as a steward, I know how to talk. I've had about 6 or 7 messages within the last month about people in my building, not my DLC, but my building that has quit their membership. And out of those 6 or 7, 5 and 6 of those, I pretty much signed up a few years before the pandemic. And it is because of a lot of the discord here. So I would just say this. While you're saying that I hear that there's no real answer, I'm telling you, we're bleeding. And we're not bleeding
15 seconds.
internally. We're not bleeding internally. We are bleeding, we're bleeding out. And we need a Band-Aid or something to do triage until we can actually get a definitive plan on how to move forward. These people want something.
So yeah, I think you guys have highlighted some good points, and yes, there are some talking points that are being flushed out currently, and actually we're waiting for legal, I believe, is the last part of that flush to make sure that it's good to get out. So, and we are a very large organization. Thank you for those recommendations.
Actually, sorry, Annika. I was just going to say, we do have, there were some talking points that were prepared for it's the tough questions.
Yeah, but I think for like you're saying, in terms of getting it out for all stewards, I think that's still currently. We'll be able to. Once I get that okay from communications, maybe we'll send that out to all stewards. But I know with this large of an organization, most of the things that go out on that kind of a scale do go through legal to make sure that they're not just talking points that haven't been approved, to make sure that they are okay to actually get out there. Because again, there are some things we still cannot talk about because they are still technically being, they still got to go through their court process, their due process. So just want to highlight that as well. There are some things that we still cannot talk about. Okay. All right. It looks like we have
to address Vincent.
Go ahead.
Hang on, Annika. To address Vincent one step further, has developed and presented a thorough communications plan that hasn't been finalized yet, but it was well thought through and brought to the leadership today. So it is absolutely up front and center as well.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely something. Another one of our conference, another part of our 14-hour day. But yes. All right. It looks like Mario got back in that queue and he said, wait a second, we didn't answer his question. So Mario, go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
First of all, please, I am a paying member, Mr. Hall. I expect to be treated with respect. Okay. Not to be dismissed to the end of the line. I like to have be treated with respect. Okay. No, you did not answer my question. I like to have a copy of the chain of command. It's a very simple, direct answer. I can be copied. You can send it to me. That way I can talk to a member who's in charge, who's not. And no, there's no saving grace, Mr. Hall. We need the talking points, the agenda for the board of directors meeting so we can discuss it with our members so they actually know, like Vincent said, they know what's going on. It's a very simple process, Mr. Hall. Thank you. And no, there's no grace period here. You remove the president. We expect you to hit the ball. We expect you to hit the ground running. Thank you. We're bleeding.
Appreciate your comment, Mario.
So Mario, just to highlight what David had said, so on the website, there is the staff. David, can you reiterate what you said in terms of the
Yeah,
org
it's on
chart?
the
And then I'll try and locate the actual org chart that I got as well and send that to you, Mario, but I would need to look for it. It's been a while, like I said.
so it's under the about. So on the hamburger, you click about, and then it takes you to that page. And on the left-hand side of that page is BOD organizational chart and staff organizational chart. But
and then I think there you could also find some kind of some like for the record on our website. You'll also find what some could consider talking points or how to answer some questions, right? They're questions that are really for our represented employees to read, but I think you're probably getting the questions that you think of yourself, right? Right, as often happens. So on the for the record part of the website, you could also find some of that.
And I'm going to go ahead and forward.
Thank you, Mario.
I'm going to forward those talking points and the tough FAQ that was, I guess, used for the or developed for the Fed thing to Brian and Ann and all them, just in case it, so it could help move that conversation forward.
Thank you, David. Fabulous. Mr. John Fox, looks like you're next in line again. Go ahead, unmute and ask your question, like your hat there.
And thank you. I hate to do it in this form, but I'm forced to. I love the comments that Sharon and Mario, for example, made, and they're right on point. And I'm going to point out, I told you this was happening. Weeks ago, months ago, I told you, and now here it is. So Sharon and Mario, kudos to both of you. I sent you this email, and Irene is the only one who responded, and I made specific recommendations. I made 3 observations and very specific, concrete observations. I'm gonna share those with the membership and with you again. I said, observation 2, the optics of recent events appear seemly. I'm not saying they are, but they appear that way. You need to address that. I gave you 3 recommendations on how to address that. No response. I gave you another observation. I told you platitudes are a poor substitute for concrete action. I appreciate what you said, Annika, but it's too ephemeral. It's too wispy. It's not concrete. You need to come with a concrete plan. Bill, that's why I complimented you earlier. I thought that latest communique you sent, that's the kind of thing you need to do consistently every freaking week. And you're hearing it here tonight. People don't want ephemeral kind of responses. No, they want something concrete. Last observation, I said communication with members is insufficient. Now, it ain't just me and my observation. You're hearing it from other folks as well. Like I told you when I made my comments, I'm not saying it's from pulling it out of my butt. I did organizational consulting. I'm telling you, and here you're seeing it.
15 seconds.
I told you, and now you're hearing it from these other folks. Just listen. But kudos to what you are doing, though. Kudos to what you are doing well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Man, I wish I could clone myself and do everything that everybody recommends, because you guys have some fabulous ideas. David, it looks like you want to say something. That's why I stopped talking. Did you want to say something?
Oh, no, I'm just typing an email. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I
I'm
saw
probably
you
like
go.
mouthing what I'm typing.
My bad. Sorry. Yeah. All right. Mr. Tommy Cornelius, you're next again. Go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Yes, I apologize. I didn't really get an answer to my question. And the next person said something when I was saying, and then Vincent said more, which I would appreciate both of them responding. Still, again, we're looking at the union is looking at it as a bad light, and there's all this fighting, and it's also out there in the media. So if we don't do something positive, we're going to continue losing membership or members because of the fact that what are we doing positive in what are we doing right now? I don't see anything positive coming out so far. I don't see anything. I get several calls a day regarding what is the union doing. And when you said we just had no talking points, I think you guys do have talking points because isn't your staff want you training for membership drive? And if they are, why can't we have this information? Because again, we are losing members daily because there's nobody doing anything. You guys fight, we're on the B, we're on media, and nothing positive is happening. So with that said, what are your plans to moving forward? How are we gonna move forward? Not next week, not next month, tomorrow, tonight, or what are we gonna do? I'm done now.
So again, anyway, not necessary. So talking concrete, again, I will say that some of the things that we've said on here are concrete, and I would argue are giving you examples. So we're telling you that we're doing organizing institutes. We're telling you that we're connecting with DLC presidents and working with them in their individual DLCs to build their. We are doing phone bankings in different areas. We are looking at membership and technology programs. We are looking at engaging and have engaged and are continuing to engage with our affiliates, both in Sacramento, both in LA, as well as state council. We're utilizing international for both boots on the ground, for communication, for when it comes to, like the image consulting that we need right now. I think all of those things are positive things that are happening. I think the fact that we were able to take the actions that we did take, right, given the situations that we were in, we're addressing financial issues that were on the verge. We're addressing legal issues that are happening currently. So just because it's not something, and I realize that we need to be better about over communicating, I hear that, but what is happening, right? I think we need to focus on that stuff that we are telling you, right? And there will be more. There's, again, just like, I'm sure I'm forgetting about stuff that I did earlier today because that's how much stuff we're doing. So David, Bill, help me out in terms of what didn't I mention that we're doing successfully. Irene is working on bargaining and making sure that the chairs are starting to, I know some have had some meetings, but others haven't, and she's starting to meet with her chairs. We're looking to get the different committees going. So DDSD, myself and David have been at the Disability Determination Services side table because there are some very real work site, what are they calling the different tiers of background checks that they have to go on. So we're also dealing with the telework table and trying to make sure that we're cross communicating with other unions. Like, I mean, I could keep going on and on. Can you guys, y'all could step in.
I'll just add that I think, moving forward, and hopefully as the pandemic eases and restrictions ease and we're allowed and able to comply with the rules and get into work sites as much as possible, where we know we have members, that we start showing a presence again. Actively getting into showing a presence, even if it is only for a few members that happen to be rotating in that day, but that they see a presence there with, big presence, whether we have pop-up tents outside or we change up their union bulletin board and spruce it up, but definitely we have to get back to touching people, making it easy for them to see us, I guess, instead of, only waiting to be called on when people are getting written up or whatever. So we have to get back to making it easy for them to see us. And that's part of, this Organizing Institute in LA was not only going to work sites, state buildings and DMVs, it was also knocking on doors where we have workers that we know are on 100% telework because their departments are cool like that. And they're still on telework. So we actually find them at home, and that's a good time to reach them. We know at 11, 10, 1, 2 in the morning, or not in the morning, in the afternoon.
More, I
phone
just thought of
calls.
3 more too, specifically
Can I-
the DMV team, right? Getting
Yeah,
that up
DMV.
and going again.
And we were doing phone calls, and Bill has something too.
So I'm gonna step out and take a little bit of risk here. And I hope David and Annika understand that I'm not throwing them under the bus, that this is like a little bit of honesty for everybody. When David and Annika and Irene acted to suspend Richard, the union had ceased to function effectively. There had been reorganization where the organizing staff was only doing representation. They had stopped doing any organizing at all. And the entire organization was frozen. Now, you can agree or disagree. I learned this once I was on the inside. When I was on the outside, I didn't realize that the whole organization basically stopped functioning. It's broken. And they stepped up and they said, okay, this can't go on. Now, with that said, it takes a bit to turn this around and get it moving and get everybody on the same page and get everybody going again. So there are so many pieces of this organization that have to be looked at and figured out. We have to figure out how to restructure staff so that we are doing the appropriate representation, but we're also doing the organizing. We talked about a member off program. Off the top of my head, and it's just off the top of my head, that program could cost us $25,000 to $30,000 a day. Four times a week, we're talking $120,000, maybe $150,000 a month. Can we afford that? Is that a good investment? Those are decisions that have to be made. Those are discussions that we had with the board. So I understand that people want direct answers. And the most direct answer is, quite frankly, we're a mess. We know we're a mess. And everybody is having the meetings, the discussions, and doing the work at the top to get this going as fast as we possibly can. And I hope that that's good enough for people. I can tell you that David Ock and I had and Irene had a pretty contentious meeting earlier today. It was tough for all of us. And there's more discussions to have around that particular topic, and we will. It's my hope at the end of the day that we're all working together and we're all on the same page and we're not fighting anymore, and we're not fighting in public. I mean, this is going to go on for a little while still, but every piece of this is being addressed. Richard is being given his proper due process and as fair a process as he can be given. Legal is heavily involved in that. We have outside people who are going to sit on his hearing panel that are unbiased. We have a comms plan coming together. We have help from the outside and the international. We have people who just came back. They just came back from LA. I mean, Annika's still down there, I think. Shake your head if that's true. So, you know, so they just finished learning this stuff. You know, I think David just came up from LA either last night or this morning. So everybody's still learning, and it takes a few minutes to take that education and turn it into an application where you see something happening. So, yeah, people want something today. I get it. Yeah, we need something today. The reality is we're doing what we can do with what we have today, and we're making very hard decisions. We understand the gravity and the expediency of the situation. And I can tell you that the rough numbers I see, we're easily bleeding 400 members a month or more, easily. I'm sorry, not a month, a week. And a lot of that's through retirement and attrition. So are we aware? Yes. Are we looking at the information? Yes. Are we working as hard as we can to do something about it? I would say yes. And I'm not going to speak to for Annika or David or Irene because she's not here, but I'm putting in 12, 14, 16-hour days right now. And I'm pretty sure they are too. And that's not a complaint. That's just information for you to know. And I really am in favor of getting the comms plan going as fast as possible. So we're working through this. I appreciate these evenings tonight. These are tough conversations sometimes, but this is a real conversation. So I hope you understand that it's a real conversation, and I hope you at least continue to share with us what your concerns are so that we can continue to work on those. There is no perfect solution today, and we're figuring the best solution we can going forward.
Thank you. Yeah. And again, some of the, right, like Bill had alluded to, we are definite, some of these things take time. So like updating some of the pamphlets and the information that we get out to you guys, that needs to be flushed out, and we need to get that out to you in an appropriate manner. And so some of that, like the NEO stuff, is being revised currently, and the member-to-member program is also being worked on. So some of these programs are kind of being revised so that they fit today, right? Because a lot of these programs also didn't function during COVID, right? So bringing some of these programs back does take time so that we do it right, and we make sure they're as effective as they were when they were running before. So thank you, Bill and David, for adding to the answer. Miss Tammy Hickson. Oh shoot, it's 8:07. I did not even see that. I feel bad because I called on Tammy. Let's take her last. Tammy can take us home. Tammy, go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can. Hi, Tammy.
Hi. Okay, I'll try to make it really quick. I know you guys, this is all about getting more members, and one of the reasons, I can share some of the reasons why many of the people in my office has left. And that's because they felt like they were not getting a return on the investment. Two, we're just done with the politics and the social justice stuff. It's like it's contract time, and I think a lot of people were very excited to finally get a new leader. And I, for one, started in I've been working for the state since 2015. Our classification has not been looked at since, I believe, the 70s. In 2018, we came together and we asked you guys to please do a parity study on our classification because it's very outdated. And it started, and then everything just dropped. So this was even pre-Richard. And I've got all the emails to show the lack of communication, how many times we've all reached out and nothing. And I mean, I've been told well, it's an election year. Well, what has that got to do with my contract or my job, So I've never met my DLC the whole time I've been here. The one that finally reached out to me was a couple of weeks ago. And then I was just informed she's no longer my DLC because Richard approved her. You guys denied her. So, here I am. I'm just an employee stuck in the middle of this and would like to, get some representation. And just communication is broken with SEIU. Even tonight, I'm just hearing a lot. I know you feel like, I'm sure you guys are doing a lot of work, but still almost every answer was just general.
15 seconds.
And I don't know, we're coming across very weak, dysfunctional, unheard, and it's contract time. That's very, concerning. So that's it.
Thank you, Tammy. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts. I see, you just got muted. I was going to ask what your DLC classification was and where you were. I'm thinking maybe Ventura and maybe a Heffen. Thank you for your thoughts. I don't know if anybody had anything to add. I think the last response kind of spoke to that, and I'm sorry that it may have not been enough, but we are trying to get, the kind of the infighting off of, obviously, right? We could talk amongst each other, but don't need to talk outside the family necessarily, in my opinion. And so I think there's lots of validity to what you said. Thank you, Tammy, for being willing to come on and express that.
Yeah, I think trying to get providing some people with some talking points on how to handle those tough questions is a very, very helpful thing that could clear some things up for some folks. So yeah, I just want.
And I'm thinking, let's run it through legal. I'm thinking we might be able to share those talking points that we did already flesh out through legal to our stewards, and that should be easy to do. So I'll double check that once I'm back in Sacramento too, to see, we could talk about it just to make sure that our team's okay with it, make sure it's good, and then we could get that out if everybody's agreeable to it. Thank you, everybody. It is 8:10. I'm sorry that we kept you 10 minutes later. I hope you guys have a beautiful evening, and we will see you next week on Tuesday for your normal stewards call from 7 to 8. And on Wednesday, you will have a more open call in a different format. More to come. Look out for those emails. Thank you, people. Have a good night.